Okay guys, welcome back to Unit 4B. We're going to be solving equations today by factoring. So make sure you guys are on page 17. Make sure you guys are taking notes. So, and I also want to remind you when you're doing the homework for this, if I don't see work, you are not getting credit. You must show work. All right, so here are the steps for solving equations by factoring. We're actually going to be getting answers now because we have equal signs. So pause this and jot down the notes now. Okay, so let's go to example 1 now that you've written down the notes. So this is set equal to 0, so step 1 is taken care of. And it actually is completely factored when we see the parentheses here. It's just kind of leading us into what we do when we have it factored. So we have two factors, x plus 3 and x minus 7. We're going to do step 3. We're going to set them each equal to 0. We're going to get two answers here. We are going to solve each of these problems. So we have x is -3 and x is 7. So example 2 now has, it is set equal to 0. And we now want to try to factor this. Remember, when we're factoring, we always want to look for a GCF first. Do I have a GCF here? No, I do not. So what way of factoring is this? It's x squared minus 4. If you recall from previous lessons, this is a difference of squares, where it's in the form x squared minus a perfect square. So to factor, we go to two parentheses. We always have a plus minus, and then we square root that perfect square, which is 4, and get 2. So now go to step 3. We are going to factor each, or set up each factor equal to 0. And then we are going to solve each of these. Obviously, this would have to be, you'd subtract 2 to get -2. And the second, you'd add 2 to get 2. And then that's done. Example 3, we do not have it set equal to 0, so I need to take care of that first. Step 1, I need to subtract 4x. And then I check, do I have a GCF here? And do I have a GCF here? Yes, I do. I have a GCF of 2. Between 2 and 4 is 2. And then they both have x's. Remember, you go with the smallest one. So that would be x. And then remember, we want to divide by the GCF to see what's left in the parentheses. So 2x squared divided by 2x would be 1x. And then minus 4x divided by 2x would be 2. So now we have our factors. We do have two factors here. We have this guy and this guy. So we're going to get our two answers, or our two equations. And we're going to divide by 2. So one of our answers is 0. And our other guy, add 2 to get 2. Okay, example 4, set equal to 0. So this guy's an easy trinomial because there's nothing in front of the x squared. So we're going to go right to parentheses here. So I'll just make a note. We got an easy trinomial here. If at any point you guys are forgetting how to factor certain ways, please pause this and go back and watch some old videos. So this guy, the signs obviously have to be plus plus. There's no minuses anywhere here. And remember the rule for the numbers. Two numbers that multiply to get 5 and add up to 6. Well, your only choices are 1 and 5, which do add up to 6. So here you got your two factors. So now you're going to get your two equations and get your two answers. So x plus 1 equals 0 and x plus 5 equals 0 are your two equations. And then you're going to solve each of them. The first one, subtract 1 to get -1. The second one, subtract 5 to get -5. Done. Example 5, what is wrong in the beginning? Can I factor yet? No, I cannot factor this yet. I need to set it equal to 0. So I need to subtract 14. And then it's an easy trinomial. So we're going to go with 2 parentheses. Let me just mark down that it's an easy trinomial for your notes. Now, remember your signs here. What are your signs going to be? You can pause and look back in your old notes if you need to. Remember, the rule is you look at your C term first. When your C term is minus, your signs must be plus minus. And then let's write down our factors of 14, like 1 times 14, 2 times 7. Now, since my signs in parentheses are plus minus, remember the rule here is they multiply to get C and subtract to get B. The B here is plus 5, so that would be this pair, 2 and 7, but which gets the plus and which gets the minus. You can then look at B, and remember I told you the phrase during the lesson, the sign of B goes to the bigger number. The bigger number is 7. The sign of B is a plus. So the 7 gets the plus, therefore the 2 must get the minus. So plus 7 and minus 2. Now we are ready to get our, write our two little equations, set our factors equal to 0. And then here subtract 7, so x is -7. And the second one add 2, x is 2. Okay, at this point, I want you to pause this and try this problem on your own. I will give you a hint. It is set equal to 0, so that's taken care of. And I'll give you a hint. Your way of factoring to start this is going to be GCF. So pause now and do the problem. So the GCF here between 4 and 12 is 4. And x squared and x, we go with the smallest exponent, so that would be x. And then we divide by 4x. So 4x to the second divided by 4x would be 1x. Bring down your minus sign. And then 12x divided by 4x is 3. So now we have our two factors. We're going to set them each equal to 0, make our two equations. And we're going to solve each of those. Your first one you would divide by 4, so x is 0. Your second one you would add 3 to have x is 3. Okay, next up, letter B. What's wrong with this problem to start? What do we need to do first? You should be thinking to yourself, it's not equal to 0, so you need to add 6. So what kind of factoring is this? This guy's an easy trinomial. Easy trinomial. So we go to 2 parentheses. What are your signs going to be? Remember, you look at C first. When the C is a plus, the signs are the same. Then we look at B and go, they're both minus. You should have your sign rules memorized from your notes from the other day. And then factors of 6 are 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. Remember, we need numbers that multiply to get 6 and add up to get 7. That would be these guys here. So they are your factors, x minus 1 and x minus 6. And so now we are going to get our answers. So we set up our two equations, set equal to 0. And the first one add 1. The second one add 6. So our answers are 1 and 6. Okay, example 6, I notice right away does not set equal to 0. So I'm going to subtract 6. All right, now to factor, can I do a GCF first? Yes, I can. I actually have a GCF of 2, so I can divide by 2 for everything. So now, so let me make a note that I did GCF first, but I do also have an easy trinomial here in the parentheses. Okay, so bring down your 2, and then your trinomial here is going to be split into 2 parentheses. You got your x's. What are your signs going to be? Look at the c term. Minus for a c means plus minus. And so factors of 3. So obviously 1 and 3, and they subtract to get 2, which is my b term, so I'm good there. But which gets the plus, which gets the minus? Look at the b term. Remember the phrase I use. Sign of b goes to the bigger number, which is 3. So the plus goes with the 3, minus must go with the 1. Okay, time to get some answers. We set our factors equal to 0. Now, the 2 here, the 2 does not have an x. Therefore, since there's no x, the 2 can just go away, disappear. So we have x plus 3 is 0, x minus 1 is 0, and we solve. Subtract 3, we got negative 3, and add 1 to get 1. There are your two answers. And please, guys, when you're doing your work, please circle your answers for me. Okay, example 7. The first thing I would do here is I do not want to equal to 0, so I would add 15. Okay, so what kind of factoring is this? Do I have a GCF? No, I do not. What kind of factoring is this, though? Well, we got a trinomial, but it's a hard trinomial. Look in front of the x squared, and you'll see that 2. This is a trinomial when a is not equal to 1. So the way I taught you was the guess and check method. So we're going to go to our 2 binomials here. Now for the x's in the beginning, the a is 2. So that has to be, our only combinations for 2 are x and 2x. And then our sign rules. We get lucky here when the c is a plus. So they're both the same. They're both minus. So that's always better when the signs are the same. And then we need factors of 15 to start doing our guesses. So factors of 15 are 1 times 15, 3 times 5. So let's do a guess. Let's take a guess and say, let's try 1 and 15 first. Now, our check, remember we want to do the O and I of FOIL. So we multiply the outside numbers, that would be minus 15x. And we multiply the inside numbers, minus 2x, or negative 2x. And then we add them, they add up to negative 17x. Now, I know that this is not good. My check fails because you need them to add up to negative 11x after you O and I of FOIL. So 1 and 15 is not going to work. Maybe we reverse the order. Let's try that. 15, then 1. So 15, then 1. So let's do O and I here. Outside, inside. That adds up to negative 31x. That's not 11x. So we know the 1 and 15 and 1, no matter what, they're garbage. So let's try 3 and 5. Let's do the O and I. So multiply, add them. There's my pair. I got, after I multiply O and I and add, that gets my b term negative 11, so I'm good there. So I have factored, so now let's go to step 3. Set our factors equal to 0. And solve. The first one, we're going to add 3 to get x is 3. The second one's going to be 2 steps. First, we're going to add 5, and then we're going to divide by 2, so that'll be 2.5. You could call it 2.5 or 2.5. Okay, I want you to pause. We only got 2 more to do, and they are you-dos. So you are going to try this one on your own. I will let you know there is no GCF here. This guy's actually going to be a hard trinomial. I'm not going to be able to help you out to tell you what kind of factoring it is on the homework, but I will assist you here today. So pause now and try this problem using the guess and check method. Okay, so let's go to our 2 parentheses. So how can we split up that 2x squared? Just like the previous problem, our only since 2 is a prime number, it's 1x and 2x, so that's nice and easy. Now the c term, the 3, well, this is nice and easy. 3 is also a prime number, so our only choices are 1 and 3, or the 3 then 1. And another easy problem thing about this problem is the sign's got to be plus plus. That's the easiest case. So let's try 1 and 3 first, and if that doesn't work, then we'll go 3 then 1. So 1 and 3 is our guess. Let's do our check. So outside, multiply the inside. That adds up to 5x, so that's no good. We need it to add up to my b term, which is 7x. So let's try to reverse the order, 3 then 1. So let's check that now. Outside, inside, add them. They check out to be good. It adds up to my b term, 7x. So I have factored successfully now using guess and check. So now I can set up my equations, set them equal to 0. Step 3. And then finally solve them. The first one, subtract 3 to get negative 3. The second one's going to take 2 steps. Your first step is subtract 1, and then divide by 2. Negative 1/2, or negative 0.5. That problem's complete. Moving on. Letter B. All right, what's your step here going to be? First step, I should say. You should have said make it equal to 0 or subtract 100. What's your next step going to be? You should have said GCF. Before I do that, that's a 95x. Should have said GCF. You have a GCF here of 5. 5 goes into itself, 95 and 100. And then you divide by 5 to have 1x squared minus 19x minus 20. Can I keep factoring in the parentheses? Yes. What kind of factoring is it? It is what I refer to as an easy trinomial. So bring down the 5 and go to 2 parentheses. What do your signs have to be? Tell me both signs. Remember, the C term is when it's a minus. Your signs are plus, minus. All right, now you want to write down your factors of 20 on the side. Your C term. 120, 2, 10, 3, 4, 5. And remember, the rule is when the C is a minus, we need two numbers that subtract to get negative 19. So it would be this pair. But which gets the plus, which gets the minus in the parentheses? Remember our phrase from earlier? Sign of B goes to the bigger number. So the sign of B is minus, so that goes to the bigger number, 20. Therefore, the 1 must get the plus. And notice, 1 minus 20 is negative 19. That's where the sense comes from. That's how it makes sense. All right, now we want to set our factors equal to 0. 5 does not have an x with it, therefore the 5 disappears, just like one of the problems earlier. Then we have x plus 1 equals 0, and x minus 20 equals 0. And then subtract 1 to get negative 1, and add 20 to get 20. There we got our two answers, and it's looking like our section is done.